With graphics like that, this guy must work out.
How's it going, folks? Coming to you from the workshop this evening. I'm doing a little series on specialty tools that I use for certain jobs. So I've had a series of videos on hand tools that I carry with me, circular saws, different things that I carry with me all the time. And then in the series I'm doing now are on different kinds of jobs. So today I'm going to go over tile tools, ceramic tile, marble, all kinds of tile jobs, backsplash. So this is the little mobile box that I keep all of it in. And the reason for that is when I first started, I had my tile tools kind of scattered all over the place. I found it was easier to put them all in one box or bag, and then when I needed to go do that job, I just had to grab that out of my shop before I left and take it with me. And another big reason for that is you'll find pretty quick, if you try to carry everything you need, you'll end up carrying a whole bunch of stuff around that you're just dragging weight that you may only use every once in a blue moon. So kind of depends on what you do every day. You'll find out when you get started, if you do a ton of tile jobs, maybe you need to keep this in your truck at all times, but I don't, so it's just how I organize it. So a couple of tools that don't fit in my box. Keep some sponges. You will need them for grouting. When you're laying your thin set for cleanup, you will need some sponges. These are usually in the box, so just setting out. This is a manual tile break. So instead of using a wet saw, you can use this. I bought this several years ago. I needed to cut one piece of tile, and I did not have a wet saw or a way to cut it. So I had bought this for that purpose. Works nice if you're doing one or two pieces, but unless you just absolutely can't afford a wet saw, and Craftsman makes a really good one for $100 that I have used on thousands of square feet of flooring. This is an option. So tile break. This, if you listen to my drill video, this is my old DeWalt drill. This was probably the very first one that I bought back almost 10 years ago. The chuck no longer works. The bit is permanently attached to it. I have used this for probably 8 years plus. And I use it to mix all of my grout, mortar, all that stuff. So you'll need a drill of some kind. You can try to use a battery operated drill, but if you're doing a very large tile floor mixing a lot of mortar, I've had corded drills, even the 20 volts, overheat, and you can even get these to overheat sometimes if you mix it too thick. So you will need a good heavy duty drill for mixing your thin set and your grout. So inside I keep a couple different size trials. I've got a small 1/8 inch trowel, a couple floats. They make several different floats. They make some cheap, just the rubber ones. These are a little bit better duty float, but you will need a float and a trowel. The trowel is going to depend on what kind of flooring that you're laying. So if you're laying large format flooring, this is 1/4 inch trowel. This is for standard size tile, stuff that's 12 by 24 possibly, 12 by 12 for sure, smaller format tile. Really small stuff like decorative tile or backsplash is usually what this smaller 1/8 inch trowel is used for. And if you're using very large format tiles, so right now what's really hot is the wood grain ceramic tile. This is a 1/2 inch, I believe, trowel. I've got a couple of these in there, doing a lot of those floors right now. So you'll need a couple different size trowels. Just make sure you check the thin set, and the tile should tell you what size trowel you need. Usually it's on the back of the tile. Like I said, I've got a couple different versions of the float. You'll need a good float. I have had floats that would need to be thrown away and end up making cleanup a nightmare. So have you at least one float. I've got a float, a handheld float that's good for doing backsplash or real small tight spaces where you may not be able to get one of these floats in. This is handy to get it in there. Let's see, another 1/2-inch float. There's some stuff in here that's just from other jobs. That is a float that needs to be thrown away. This is a hole kit. You can get this in your tile aisle, and it comes with some stickers that go right here. So if you're trying to cut, I think that's a 1-inch or 1.5-inch hole, you stick that on the tile and fill this up with water, and then you put your bit down in there, and it allows you to basically wet cut a hole in the tile. So for the spigot for your tub, and up at the top for your shower head, it's a nice little kit. I've bought, if you looked at my bit video, I've got some bits that I've bought that you don't have to use water. I mean, you can just wet the bit and cut the tile. The bit that came with this, you actually had to submerge it in water in order to get the hole cut. So, nice option. This is actually cheaper. The bits that I've got in my bit box are quite expensive. I don't think this kit was that expensive. So, that is an option. Keep one of these knives with me. This is for cleaning out grout lines. I haven't had it happen very often, but every once in a while a customer decides they want a different color grout. And this allows you to dig the grout out of the lines. Just a word to the wise, you're likely going to chip the tile when you do that, unless you're a whole lot luckier than I have been in the past. So go down that road with caution. I keep a couple wet blades in here. Here's another version. This is for smaller holes. Kind of the same principle as this one over here. This had a little keyhole bit, or a little hole. You fill this up with water. Came with stickers back here. You stick it to the wall. So if you're doing like, you need just a spot to put an anchor, to put a handicap bar up, fill this up with water, stick your drill in there and drill the hole in. So like I said, the bits that came with these required that it actually be submerged in water. But they do work. Just a little cheaper options for you. I keep a puck in here as well. These are nice. A lot of guys just use a rubber mallet, or not a rubber mallet, but just a concrete level. This is nice because you can roll it over the tile. It's got a bubble on it, so you can see when it's level. And then as you're rolling the puck across the tile, you can hear where the uneven spots are. So I like this. I've had this for quite a few years. Works really nice for putting tile in. Kind of moving it back and forth across the floor. Keep you a set of tile snips. You need those. I think Lowe's carries a starter kit. Low Depot probably does too. That comes with tile snips. I think a sponge or two, 3-gallon bucket, and some spacers, and I think a pair of rubber gloves. So if you never installed tiling, I would get that little starter kit. It kind of has most of the stuff you'll need. I think it even comes with a 1/4-inch trowel too. So, other than that, I keep a couple extra wet saw blades. There's another grout cleaner. So if you need to clean grout lines, either this tool here or this little triangle tool will work for cleaning up your grout lines. Keep a couple extra blades. This is for my little Craftsman 7¼ inch wet saw. I've got a large DeWalt one that I use for larger jobs, but I use that one quite a bit. Another tool you'll need will be this. If you do any large format tiles, there is a wedge and spacer that is used for them, and the wedge actually is a little T-shaped wedge that goes underneath the tile. And then there's a plastic wedge just like an old doorstop. And you grab that T-spacer and push that plastic wedge up into it, and it brings the tiles up level with one another. So these are really handy. It's only if you're installing that format of tile that you'll need these for that. So I think most of the starter kits for those wedges, they come with these pliers, but you may need to buy a set of them in order to make those wedges work just right. most everything else in the bottom of this box is duplicates of everything we just looked at. So that's kind of an overview of the tile tools that I carry. Bare minimum, at least a 1/4 inch trowel. That's probably the most widely used for just about all format tiles, is a 1/4 inch. Pair of tile snips, a mixer of some kind, a float, doesn't really matter, probably a bigger float. You know, I've got a really large float that's twice this long, but a float of some kind, and sponges and a drill, and then a level. You don't have to use this tile puck, but some kind of level to make sure that your flooring's level. Other than that, a rubber mallet, and I usually take the one out of my wood flooring box and put it in here when I'm doing a tile floor. So those are the tools that I have found work the best for me for tiling. Let me know if you got any comments or if you've got suggestions on other stuff that you carry with you. This, of course, does not include the wet saw. I'll do a separate video on the wet saws. So, thanks.
This guy needs to be a poster child for birth control. If you like that video, hit subscribe.